Welcome back to the Channel CEO podcast. I'm with Dragos Stanescu, co-founder of ThinkCubes. Dragos is dedicated, self-taught, and seasoned information technology professional with a strong background in IT offensive security. It's going to be a fascinating conversation today. He loves to learn from successful makers and teachers, and teaches others how they can find the courage to fulfill their dreams. And so I know this is going to be outside of the technology discussion. I think it's going to be pretty fascinating because he's got an interesting early morning routine that we'll get into. But with that said, welcome, Dragos.
Nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you, Kevin, and thank you for inviting me to this webcast. And looking forward to it.
Awesome. So if we were talking, beforehand, before we started, I'm particularly interested in this this area because it's such an emerging category in kind of the broader channel landscape. We talked about, this is really offensive security and penetration testing. Those are typically reserved for your larger Fortune 1000 companies, your government, GovCon markets, what have you. But now it has evolved, and it just really highlights how critical or how important security is. And so let's just start with kind of your thoughts on what is offensive security testing, and really what does it mean to do it right?
I'm gonna start with a small story from the beginning of when I started. When I actually started to do it. So I started to do it in 1998 in a very unofficial way. Everything at that point in time for us, it wasn't the concept of being a hacker or security researcher or something like that. It was pretty much as part of the security system administrator, but with the focus on the security side of things. And to me, at that point, I found a book, and that book, it was the name is 1998. It was called Internet Security, and that it was from university at that point in time. I remember it cost $65 and I borrowed. Let's call it borrowed, but actually I stole it. So I stole it, and I started to read it. And at that point in time, we are talking about the age of pretty much compromising system via fingers service and all the old Unix flavors.
Mm-hmm.
And reading that book actually changed my life because in roughly 600 pages, it used to have like a lot of good things, and they try to describe the security of Unix systems. What I did actually, I reversed in my mind, reversed everything, and I tried to figure out how can I break into the system instead of make them secure. So from that point further, everything has changed to me. So I started to look at every single system I came across from the perspective of trying to penetrate. So that it was the start of my, let's say, security testing career, and I'm trying to stay away from words like hackers and things. From my perspective, there is two testing, and let's say the bad guys. We are on the one side of the street, and they are on the other side of the street.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna refer to these guys that are doing their own stuff, like the guys from the other side of the street, because there is so many concepts nowadays: good hackers, white hackers, gray hackers, and sometimes it's quite difficult to understand who is doing what, and at some degree. So yeah, that is the way how I started back in the days, and then of course a lot of things got evolved. And starting with the basics, I mentioned that at that point in time we looked to penetrate systems. So that is offensive security at the in a very at a very bare-bone level, to try to penetrate system and bypass their security controls, and that's it. that is that it's pretty much all of it. That means like offensive security testing. You are trying to break into the different systems or devices that are connected to a network.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think you're right in that, the definitions of white hat, black hat, gray hat, they're, it's, they're all over the place. I guess it's really a matter of perspective and what side you're on, who's a white hat or gray hat, black hat, or what have you. But yeah, so but the concept of offensive security, penetration testing, it's to your point, right? It's been around for a while and it's really evolved. And as mentioned, back in the day, even maybe 5-6 years ago, it was really reserved for enterprise type organizations. And it's also partly because there was call it a maturity curve or model in the MSP or the channel, where most were not overly sophisticated and they hadn't really moved up into larger regulated customers where they had the need for this type of capability. But that's changed quite dramatically, and I think it's also been accelerated. I hate using the word COVID, but I think because of COVID, post COVID, and the fact that the perimeter is now almost gone, that the need for being more offensive minded, the need for penetration testing in general has exploded. And especially now because you've got this where the maturing MSPs are meeting kind of in the middle, and these types of solutions are now available. And so, I mean, did you kind of see a similar path, or is that do you agree with my assumption or my premise that it's now becoming a part of the it's becoming part of the tool stack? It should be a main part.
Absolutely. So I'm with you 100%. So from my perspective, we now can clearly divide the penetration testing and offensive security space in two different eras, pre-COVID and after COVID. So pre-COVID era, it was like everyone used to do some sort of security assessment because they had to do it for SOC 2 Type 2 or ISO 27001 and so on. But during all that kind of, let's call it like 3 yearish in total during the COVID era, a lot of things got changed. People, they changed the mentality and everything. We were forced to do some and to operate from a completely different perspectives as human beings, first of all. And as a business, especially the enterprise, they had to adjust and adapt their tactics and to continue the business, allowing people to connect remotely and doing a lot of stuff from the piece of their homes. That it came with a different sort of challenges. Then once the COVID ended, we landed in a time when suddenly some sort of great beast named AI, let's call it AI, just landed, and because of that, there is even more complexity added on the initial picture. So basically, from the offensive security space, it's a pre-COVID era where things were way much simpler. Than now we have to face a lot of unique and niche attack vectors which are coming because there is way much more tools and abilities of someone with limited knowledge to elevate those and chain them and execute, let's call it exotic attack vectors against companies and especially enterprises, which are still at some degree struggling to find the same good piece like it used to be before the after COVID era.
Yeah.
So doing a serious offensive security, I mean keeping your security posture as an enterprise from the same level is getting started to get like a challenging task. And it's not necessarily about the SOC 2 Type 2 anymore or any other certification. It's about like pretty much surviving because no one wants to wake up in the morning or get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning saying, "Hey, we kind of got hacked and we lost." I mean, they penetrate the A, B, and C perimeters, and now we have to figure out how they did it, what is the blaze radius for that, and what actually they stole. Um, what we are seeing, although we are offensive, we are doing offensive security testing. That doesn't mean that we don't know the modus operandi of this, these people from the other side of the street. So
Sure.
um, a lot of companies are thinking that if someone is penetrating them and let's say they're victims of a ransomware, that is pretty much the end of the story. Unfortunately, this is not the way how it's working in most of the cases. So the attack it's a clustered attack. First of all, someone is compromising a company, and the first step is they're setting up a foothold, and then they're exfil as much data they can. And the ransomware is coming only at the last phase of this clustered attack because actually today they are looking after data. Data sets are sold to the different entities on the different markets, let's say black markets or whatever, underground internet, let's call it that in that way. And the ransomware is coming like a cherry on the top of a cake. They just want to make more money. So if you are looking at a couple of the last, um, I mean, there is a lot of happening in the space. We can cover all of those. But
Yeah.
if you are looking at a couple of companies they got breached, I'm gonna give you an example. Couple of months ago, a private flying jet company has been compromised, and a lot of data has been stolen from that company. Which, although it was small, they still have a lot of data. In a couple of months, I mean, probably a couple of weeks actually later, um, the San Francisco airport or the LA airport has been compromised. I can't remember which one at this point in time. But for anyone that is able to unite some dots, that means they got access to information about how that initial company can access different systems left and right. They stole that information, they sold that information, and then the other groups, they use that information to compromise further on different targets aligned with the same business model. So as you are seeing, there is a pattern if not necessarily um, ransom straight away a target, is more like steal all the data, um, monetize all the information they can, they have it spill and move on. And ransomware pretty much again as at the end is like a okay, we can do this, let's do it. Pretty much additional income, let's call it that. So this is the pattern nowadays is seen more and more, meaning that there is a huge shift into the way how these adversaries they're thinking, these groups are thinking, which are monetary oriented. They steal data. Eventually, they want to keep access into the client infrastructure. If they cannot do that, they ransom the target. So yeah, this will be at the bottom line, from a high level perspective, the way how things are, at least currently, their looks they are going. Um, from the future perspective, that is going to be quite interesting because um, there is a clash between good AI and bad AI.
Mhm.
We are seeing deepfake coming into the play more and more. Um, AI elevated in different from a different perspectives. OpenAI, I remember that they block a lot of guys. They used to use that APIs for generating interesting stuff.
Mhm.
But this doesn't mean that they have been limited. Actually, today you can run your own model locally using 5,000 macOS, and you can still have a lot of power to do to generate almost the same quality payload or ideas of how you can attack different bits and pieces, or you can trade a model or a lot of data you have stolen. And we definitely going into a very interesting era where I will say what it used to be at some point penetration testing uh, before COVID started to be um, commodity for a lot of enterprises. Nowadays, it's a must to have it properly done, and whoever is doing for you to avoid simulating like all the other guys they used to do before. Running a couple of tools, firing a burp, and seeing there's any OS top 10 kind of things out there. We are way beyond that moment, and if we don't try to be as close as possible to the adversaries in the way how they are doing things, we already lost, honestly.
Yeah.
So this is the way how we are seeing it.
Yeah. What's yeah, it's funny as security and as technology evolves, you often have these, you know, I guess the word is like charlatans or folks that say it's an existential threat and it's going to wipe out humanity and all this stuff. But I think the more and more that I peel into, AI and, and it's how the dynamic of bad guy versus good guy is going to evolve here. It's going to be rapid. It seems like it's going to be pretty wild, and I'm sure that's a pretty massive threat vector that you guys think about. Like before, and it still is, but before it was, the damn QR codes, right, all over the place, and then all the apps, and the newer kids in the workforce and how susceptible they are because they're just so open and so interconnected. But then you layer in AI, you layer in some of this generative stuff and where things are going. It really does. It's starting to keep me up at night. And so should I be kept up at night? Should I be worried about it?
Yes.
Great.
Um,
I knew you were
the
going to
long
say
answer,
that.
yes. The short answer is yes. Things are going really, really fast in
Yeah.
this space, and again, the capabilities of today's young people of accepting, understanding, using, and being consumers a lot of AI kind of things. It's it although it sounds alarming, but it is something like we have to get you used with. But on the other side of the from the other side of the coin is like we have to understand how we can protect in this new world of everyone choosing at some degree something which is backed by some sort of AI. So that is going to be the question. Your fridge is going to have AI. It's going to call you and tell you for tomorrow. I know that basically you're gonna make a barbecue and but you don't have any kind of meat in your fridge, and it's pretty much starting to talk with you. I mean, it's going beyond that
Yeah.
moment when it's sending a SMS and telling you you need meat and a couple of the other ingredients for your tomorrow barbecue. It
Yeah.
started to give you a lot of advices, which it's kind of weird. I mean, everything is going to, if you are looking from a scientific perspective, we are evolving, yes.
Yeah.
But if you are looking at from the offensive or I don't know adversary capabilities of abusing all these features, it's getting really really interesting.
Yeah.
And now the question is how we can tackle all these issues. How we gonna how how we gonna try to first of all to advise people what they should do and how they can protect themselves. Um,
Yeah.
at the from the high level perspective, no one actually I think that has the right answer or the silver bullet answer to this. All we try to do is just adapt as quick as possible as
Yeah.
well. In a world where again there is some people adversaries, they don't have meetings, they don't have bureaucracy, they're really oriented to the output. And on the other front, from the other perspective, we are the one which is trying to protect different flags and keep our lives um, clean and as peaceful as possible against any, let's say, potential attacks we can get from the other guys. It's a huge clash, and I would say that one of the it's all about like the power stays in number. As I always said, especially with the new technologies and new emerging technologies like AI, we just discussed. It's clearly that a limited number of people cannot get a lot of knowledge quicker. So that's why we need to elevate the knowledge of a broader number of people, let's say globally distributed kind of network with people they are coming from different backgrounds. They have the ability to understand and get a lot of information knowledge very quick. And all of those sum up is going to build that kind of force that it's allowing us to tackle and um, be at the same level with the adversary, which are they are doing almost the same again, but from the other perspective. Um,
Mm.
so because of that, that's why I'm saying standard or all the security vendors like used to be, or the security consultancies, offensive security consultancies, they used to operate until pre-COVID era. They kind of lose the power and the force, like tackling what's coming post-COVID era, especially when we are seeing, on top of everything, we are seeing a highly complicated geographical, um, um, currently a geographical political posture. And
Hmm.
remember that there is, let's say, there's Asian states that they have complete embargo on detailing 0 days of issues, meaning that they are sitting on stuff we have no idea about.
Yeah.
And this it makes adds a lot of complexity into the picture because on one side you have to get prepared and be open-minded to learn from and reverse engineer new stuff, and the other side also to be prepared to tackle whatever is coming as a new novel attack from these guys. Again, we have no idea about. So with all of these stack up one on top of the other, you see that again. Um, I would say not only, but probably something like definitely should be taken under consideration. A global hive, a global mindset of people with a deep pool of knowledge can work together and provide um, that kind of offensive security service from a real perspective rather than lie ourselves and just try to simulate a standard penetration test like it used to be before the COVID. We are not there anymore.
Right.
And if you are doing that, we definitely are gonna lose the game.
Yeah. This, you know, you could probably relate to this because knowing a little bit about you, about how outdoorsy you are, and how it seemingly competitive you are, but um, it seems like it now it really has to be a team sport, right? And again, I always go back to it because it's still very much a thing. This maturity curve in kind of this broader uh, concept of the IT channel. But how do you guys, how do you work with the MSP, whether they're a sophisticated group or even semi sophisticated group? Like what? How do you guys work with them with what you guys provide, and what's it typically look like? What's an engagement look like?
So MSPs and MSSPs, they are different beasts from a
Mhm.
business perspective. I mean, usually they are so like the keepers of the keys of the king of a kingdom. No matter what that kingdom it is, definitely it's an enterprise kingdom because you know this is their business model.
Yeah, it's a good point.
We it's when you have a number of clients under your belt and you are dealing with their network, everything what is going sideways can put that client into pretty much out of business for in, let's say, less than 48 hours if you don't know what you are doing. Um, First of all, now from our business perspective, there is one trick. We don't have junior people. All of us, we have. I mean, personally, I have 20 years plus experience in working with pretty much enterprises all over the world, pretty much all over the world, and um, we know what it's all about. We know what the MSPs pain points usually are and what they are trying to achieve by engaging with people like us. Because beyond the offensive security testing, that is one. It's the side of it's a technical side of things. Everyone can use. If, techni- techni- Technological wise, everyone can use different set of tools and let's say compromise things. The trick is coming later on. You have to kind of advise these people with things and explain them how they should do let's say remediation from very pinpointed to the business model, because not all the MSPs are the same. They are using different network devices, different things, different a lot of hardware on the market, especially in the cloud era. Um, Everyone is really loving to use it loves to use cloud, which is completely fine. But as you know, let's say last year at reInvent, as an example, AWS is launch like I don't know 50 plus new services. I can't even remember how a human being, even as a huge MSP, can be up to date and know all the bits and pieces and understand how to configure a lot of services to be secure, and with all that inner small details about rights, left and right, and there's a lot of things on the table.
Yeah.
I will say that it's almost impossible from someone to keep peace with that. So because of that, the majority of the MSPs, they are looking always for extra miles. They are looking for people like they're able to explain them and pinpoint them straight away to their solution. You have to do that in this way, and this is going to fix your problem because. And then you are coming with the, let's say, with the technical documentation and explain them, what AWS is expected to happen or what you can do. The funny thing sometimes it's even AWS doesn't know how to do things because it's too complex. Even a company like, this huge cloud provider, the things are moving way too fast for them and they have to launch features as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to discover by yourself by doing trial and error on your home lab or your own account how you can do different bits and pieces. So that's why I would say offensive security testing in 2024 and plus is not necessarily about doing offensive security testing. It's more about like combining a couple of elements like all this offensive security mindset with the ability to consult
Hmm.
and have that be that kind of north star for these clients. And no matter what they are using, you have to know that is the most challenging aspect because you have to learn all the time.
Yeah.
And um, then the third thing is to take accountability and responsibility for the advices you are providing. As you know, in today's marketplace, a CISO, if something is going wrong in with his company, he has to answer some really tough questions.
Yeah.
And when a CISO is engaging a company which is doing offensive security testing, he's also expecting like you as a professional to kind of guard his nights and good sleep.
Yeah.
If something is going in a wrong direction, that is not going to be good. Even for this guy, and even for that um, offensive security testing company. So that's why we are trying to avoid that moment and be in the position like when you are getting a question, hey, I'm a company which is using this as an MSP. We are secure. To be in the position like to take a lot of accountability on us and say, yes, at this point in time, we are not seeing any elevated threat to your business from your current security posture. And To do that, we had to, again, to elevate a lot of knowledge and experience all of us we have, and most of all to engage with the customer and explain them what is important to them. We are usually, let's say, a standard engagement with us is focusing on results that are medium plus in a terms of medium plus issues. We are not looking at stuff which is taking your time, reading a report as an example. We are telling you exactly from a fancy mindset how someone can compromise you and what is the blast radius that's the particular, let's say, actor could inflict in your business. Very open, no zero fluff, let's go, no BS on the table, because there is no time for that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
They are moving really fast in the background, so we have to do it as well. Focus on what is important and highlight exactly, again, pinpoint it to their business model. You have this, and that. You have to do that and that, and then let's move on. So this is the way how we operate.
Yeah. I think in some ways, although it's never a good incident, but I think the challenges that some of the RMMs in particular have had over the last couple of years were that light bulb moment for the MSPs to realize. And I love how you mentioned, like, it almost think of the MSP itself as an enterprise because of the complexity and how many customers they manage, right? I mean, they could be, the MSP itself could be managing, customers that have 50, 100 endpoints, what have you, but at the totality of that rolled up, essentially makes them a, mini enterprise, if not an enterprise. But I think the challenges that the RMMs have had, because people, I think, really for the first time understood how massive that, to your point, blast radius could be with there's tools like that. I think that was the catalyst for the industry to really, amongst other things that we mentioned, like the explosion of endpoints post COVID and all that stuff. I think it's really helped to mature the marketplace, because before, and I'm preaching to the choir, but before it was like, all right, well, we've got this compliance questionnaire, or we've got this audit, and have whoever's at the front desk, have them fill this thing out. It was like so cavalier, so reckless. But it's really come into this point where, I think the industry is starting to take serious. And to your point, I mean, these things are moving just so incredibly fast. And I see in the next, 18, 24 months, what have you, just, that acceleration just being insane. And that's why, having a group like yourself makes absolutely total sense, because you can't keep up with the threat vectors. You can't keep up with all the new tools and all the new features of the new tools that come out, especially with these stacks that these MSPs have. If they're working with 40, 50, 60 different technologies, you got updates every quarter on a lot of these technologies. It's like your head explodes. At least mine does.
Also remember that we have to deal with the inherence of the SaaS kind of concept, where everyone is paying monthly for something. And while it used to be like amazing kind of revenue style before the COVID era, SaaS started to prove like being a interesting security holes for a lot of companies that are bootstrapping a lot of SaaS companies into their network, and no one at some degree knows how to use them or how deep they got bootstrapped. And then because of all the SaaS concepts, single pane of glass, multi-tenant, and so on, that is coming with a third-party kind of security risk as well. So when analyzing, especially the enterprises, from the enterprises perspective, all these concentric circles around the one important flag, you started to understand that there is so much stuff which you don't know, and you don't know the security posture of your business exposed via that third party eyes.
Yeah.
And again, we are living in a time of a proxy proxy, I don't know, ownage, and when companies are getting owned by third party supply chain attacks, so third party attacks again, different vendors, SaaS vendors, or whatever. So it's not anymore about what I'm running into my company. I definitely know what it's all about. Today it's about like a huge bird eye picture of that specific business to be able to understand the overall attack surface they have exposed out there. Again, including these third party companies, which at some extent also they have the third party vendors, meaning that they became the fourth party for you as well, and so on. So exactly at your point, it's getting increasingly complex. A team of people you have, they are busted. They pretty much all they trying to do the best they can. But at the end of that line, it's still challenging if and it's necessary to have, when it's possible, to benefit from advices from people. They have different backgrounds, different experience. A lot, they are really passionate in different stuff you don't have time to look into, and all of those sum up together. It's reducing a lot of from the headache you might have in case of let's say of a successfully breach.
So you deal with pretty heavy topics all day long, pretty intense topics all day long. I did notice that you do almost daily a 2 hour MTB mountain biking session to clear your mind. And it's
Yes,
not weather dependent. I thought that was pretty good. So tell me about how is that how you decompress? Because I have to imagine
yes,
that you're always on guard, always thinking about the next, thing. And this is how you clear your head.
yes, absolutely. So I mean, I have to say, all my life I wanted to be a fighter jet pilot. So that it was, I always thought that I was born for doing that. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It wasn't meant to be, meaning that I had to take a different path. But doing mountain bike, mountain biking is definitely screwing my head, and it makes me feel, leaving behind all the craziness in a virtual world you don't actually feel. It is something you are living inside of your brain. And
Yeah.
um, my wife is always telling me that I have too many open tabs in my mind. I need to go and have some sort of mountain biking. So I just go and free up my mind. It's um, from the other perspective, I'm seeing a lot of people really looking into going to the cybersecurity side of things. What they kind of don't know is this life has a dark side as well. It's taking a lot of toll on you as a human being because you have to take all the time good and fast decisions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm using mountain bike like some sort of lion to just cool down myself.
No, I think that's great because yeah, I mean you're always on. Everything is always intense. It's always dramatic, right? And yeah, and having that outlet, I think is absolutely fantastic. Um,
Um,
I think more people need outlets like that because, especially to your point in security, it's just you could sit at the desk from 6 a.m. to midnight every day, right, and not blink, not
yeah.
get up. Yeah,
Um, and when I'm saying not weather dependent, it's mostly because it is the same like, let's say, a very good driver, WRC driver. They're really, that guys, they're amazing pilots, but um, their skill is coming to the play once they are losing a wheel or they have some sort of technical issues, and they still have to, take the car to the next checkpoint and see what they can do.
yeah,
Um, Meaning that the more challenging the condition are, I would say, it's best for you as a human being to understand different sides of how, let's call it from the mountain bike perspective, how the things can change and how to tackle them, because there is a lot of difference between doing mountain bike on a sunny day comparing when it's raining outside and it's muddy. The risk of having slip and having different sorts of accidents, it's definitely it's increasing at large. So that's why I will advise anyone that can do anything close or anything similar, just do it. I mean, it's like just go outside and do it, because it's on a long term. There's a lot of values for that.
Absolutely. Look, Dragos, I could talk to you for hours on end about threat vectors and gosh, certainly this new paradigm with AI. But like I said, I track this space closely. I love what you guys are doing. I absolutely agree that you guys should be, it's a team sport, and you guys are the ones that should be, riding just right along with the MSPs. And so I can't recommend you guys highly or even more, because it's I think where you are, and as these threats evolve, you're going to be even more core critical to the success of MSPs, MSSPs moving forward. So I'm just I'm thrilled you're able to take some time and have a chat about this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. With that, appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and I wish you an amazing day.
Likewise.